Hey, what's going on, friends? Hope you are having a really good day. I got a really cool word that I want to share with you that I recently got in a time of corporate prayer. Ever since the first of the year, we've been having a lot of extra prayer meetings. A lot of them are in the mornings early and just going for the things of God. And so recently I was praying and I just kept hearing the Lord say, contend, contend, contend. And so I was just praying, and I know what the word contend actually means. It means to struggle with something for an outcome that you're hoping for. And so I've always been somebody who used to use the phrase like we're contending for revival. We're going against, the culture to see a revival and awakening in our nation. Contend means to wrestle or to struggle with something to see an outcome. And so I was just praying, and it's just like they come up my spirit, just like contend for it, contend for it, contend for it. And so I started thinking, like, everything that I'm doing in my life, am I really contending for it? Am I really strapped in? Am I really going for it? Am I really contending for it? Whenever you're, getting your life strong with God, you're contending for your faith. If your marriage is ever struggling, you're contending for your marriage. If your finances are bad, you're contending for your finances. And it's just that constant moving forward. But I felt this and my spirit really strong. And so I just want to walk you through some things. Like if your finances, if you're living at 105% of what you make, there's a struggle. You have to contend to make that extra percent without cheating God. That's what a lot of people do when their finances struggle. The Bible says, will a man rob God? And what happens is people will stop doing that. Or if someone is trying to get their health in line, and all of a sudden they're getting weak physically, and they're eating something they shouldn't, or they're cutting back on their workouts, or they're getting off of their health program. I know a good one if anyone is interested. And all of a sudden they're contending for their health. You ever seen somebody will call and say, hey, Joe, man, my kid's sick. We are contending in prayer for their health and well-being. And it is in there. It's that fight. And I love contending in prayer. I love getting in the place of prayer and just mixing it up and just contending. And so recently, when I was in this prayer time, the Lord was like, write down and list the things that you're contending for, and go for it, contend for it. And so I started writing down different things, and as I wrote them down, I started looking, and I thought, wait a minute, am I really contending for this? In every one of our businesses and every one of our ministries, am I contending for them? Am I really in that place of prayer? And when warfare comes, I said contending is a struggle. When warfare comes, am I coming against warfare, and am I contending for a breakthrough? And what happens a lot of times is we get comfortable in an area. Let's say the area may be your spiritual nature, where you are with God, that you'll get complacent and the enemy will knock you back. Well, if you don't contend, you won't even get back to where you were, much less, thriving in your walk with God. I tell people when I'm discipling new converts, I'm like, hey, you got to contend for your time every day. Like if you want to get into the Word, if you want to get into prayer, you got to get in there and contend with the Lord. You got to get in there and start, dying to the flesh, living in the Spirit. When people are trying to get their finances in order, when they're trying to start saving, when they're trying to, like if you ever start your own business, there's a lot of, groundwork and foundation. You've got to contend with the normality of life and in your mindset of the past to get to that place to build. And so contending is a strong word. It's a fighting word. It's a warfare word. It's a straightforward, I'm not going to give in to the enemy. I'm not going to quit. Listen, you don't quit when you're tired. You quit when you're done. You got to keep going. Too many people are counting on you to quit. I know when I felt I was supposed to do YouTube, and I was just like, there's days I would pray like, God, I know I'm supposed to do a video a day. You're going to have to help me with content. And it was real simple. The Lord was like, as long as you stay in my presence and you're contending for your private time, you will never run out of content. I mean, I got people tell me all the time, Joe, you got more content than I've ever seen in my life, because I'm constantly in there with the Lord, spending time with them. We started our health coaching business. We started from scratch, and my coach helped me, and we got our business going. And, with not very long, we had a multi-million-dollar a year business, and it just keeps going and growing. That's why I love helping people contend to start their own health coaching business to grow. That's why I love helping people. That's why I do one-on-one mentoring. I love digging into people's lives. But you gotta learn how to contend. You gotta learn how to fight. You gotta learn how to take a hit and keep going. You gotta be able to get in there and just do what you're supposed to do in life. If you're, I know a lot of people who are fighting for their families. They're fighting, they got to contend every day in prayer. Especially if you have prodigals, you got to stay in there and pray for those prodigals. If you ever have a ministry that's failing or a business that's suffering, you'll learn quick what contending is, or you're going to give up. Give up on your promise. So many people are contending for their marriage, and their spouse just needs, a encounter with God for a turnaround. Stay in there, contend, whatever it may be. I've seen some people shut down ministries, and I'm like, you just ran into a bad season. Stay in there. Have some longevity about you. Contend. And so if you stay in prayer and the word and fasting, you're going to make it. But I want to pray over some people for this word, contending for it. Send me a prayer request. Don't send me a book. I don't need to know I'm just going to tell you, I still got every day those people that send me 8 to 15 paragraphs. I can't read it all. I got a lot of messages. But you send me a paragraph and I'll pray for you, okay? God knows the details. I don't have to. Just like let's say you have a kid that's struggling with a physical infirmity. You don't have to tell them about every doctor's report. You can just say your kid's name and this is what they're struggling with, and I got you. Okay, whatever you need prayer for, message me. Go to the website joejoedawson.net. Send me a prayer request, and I'll pray for you, and I'll contend with you, because everybody's looking for somebody to stay in the battle with them, and I will stay in the battle with you. Okay. So love you guys. I hope this encouraged you to contend, and you have a super blessed day.